I want you to do a quick mental check right now. Just pause for a second and really think about it. How many times have you touched your phone today?
Oh, that's a dangerous question.
Was it 10 times?
Yeah.
50? Maybe 100? Be honest with yourself. Now, I want you to imagine what would happen if you had to go a full 24 hours without it.
Just cold turkey.
Exactly. No messages, no mindless scrolling, no pulling it out of your pocket to check the time every 2 minutes. Just you, your thoughts, and the actual physical world around you.
I mean, for most of us, just visualizing that scenario triggers a subtle spike in anxiety. Our devices have become such a seamless extension of our cognitive architecture that, well, the mere thought of being separated from them feels deeply
I think
disorienting.
it really does.
It's almost like losing a synthetic limb.
Yeah, totally. And we all know smartphones are distracting. We've all seen the screen time reports and read the endless articles about digital detoxes. But what we are exploring in today's deep dive isn't just another lecture on putting your phone away.
Right, we're not here to scold anyone.
No, not at all. We are looking at the psychological reality, the granular reality of a no-phone day. And our source material for this is actually incredibly unexpected.
It really is. It's from an English learning channel,
Yeah, we're examining an excerpt from a channel called Speak English with Class.
which on the surface seems like a bizarre place to find a profound deconstruction of modern behavioral psychology.
I know, it sounds crazy.
Yeah.
But the mission of this deep dive is to extract the incredible life insights hidden within this seemingly simple language lesson.
It's a gold mine.
It really is. In the process of narrating a day without a device, the material inadvertently dismantles what happens to our neurochemistry, our focus, and our relationships when we drop our digital safety blankets. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
The material immediately sets the tone by calling this 24-hour experiment a beautiful nightmare.
That phrase is just, it captures the duality perfectly. It highlights the immediate friction between the cognitive peace we claim we want and the deeply ingrained behavioral addiction we are actively fighting.
A beautiful nightmare. It's so accurate.
It is. The narrative notes that the phone isn't merely a communication device anymore. It serves as our alarm clock, our calendar, our map, our news source.
Our whole life, basically.
Essentially, yes. But crucially, it operates as our primary mechanism for emotional regulation and escape.
Which brings us to the very first hurdle of this beautiful nightmare. Just simply waking up, the morning phantom.
The morning phantom, yes.
The narrative shares this incredibly vivid moment. You open your eyes, and before you are even fully conscious, your hand automatically reaches over to the bedside table.
Pure muscle memory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But on a no-phone day, your hand just grabs empty air. You're reaching for the ghost of your phone.
That physical reach for empty air is a flawless illustration of classical conditioning. Your brain's basal ganglia have encoded that motor sequence so deeply that it bypasses conscious thought entirely.
You don't even decide to do it. Your arm just moves.
Right. But it's not just a physical habit, it's a biochemical expectation. Your brain is anticipating a morning hit of dopamine. When you grab empty air, that expectation is thwarted, leading to immediate psychological disorientation.
You wake up and instantly feel lost.
You are instantly stripped of the device that dictates how you transition from sleep to consciousness. And the narrative highlights a striking detail here.
Oh, about the clock.
Yes. Without the phone to check the time, the individual actually had to get out of bed and look at a physical wall clock.
And they said it made them feel like they were living in 1999.
Having to physically walk across a room to check the time feels almost archaic now.
It really does. But after that initial shock of the missing phone wears off, you're left sitting there, awake, with your hands empty. And the mind rebels against that emptiness almost immediately.
What's fascinating here is how the sensory experience of withdrawal is described. The narrative introduces the concept of a loud silence.
Loud silence. It sounds like an oxymoron, but makes total sense.
When you abruptly remove the relentless stream of digital input, the brain doesn't just relax. Instead, because it is deprived of its usual dopamine drip, it becomes hypervigilant.
It's looking for something to chew on.
Exactly. The quiet of the morning suddenly feels incredibly intense. The text describes it as heavy and strong.
That intensity makes perfect sense. Without a podcast or newsfeed buffering your reality, Every little thing is magnified.
You notice everything.
The material mentioned, suddenly hearing the birds outside, the cars passing by, and even the sound of one's own breathing.
It's almost overwhelming.
It is. It's like your senses are dialed up to 11.
It's the brain's default mode network kicking into overdrive. We are so unaccustomed to existing in a space without external stimuli that baseline reality feels aggressively loud.
Because we're usually drowning it out.
Right. The mind is obsessively begging for just one quick check, one notification to anchor its attention. When it doesn't get it, the physical environment seems to close in.
You see that desperate need for an anchor in the very next part of the routine, making the morning coffee.
A classic trigger moment.
Picture this. You're standing in your kitchen, waiting for the kettle to boil. Normally, the phone comes out instantly.
Without fail.
The narrative points out a modern absurdity here. We routinely consume endless content about what strangers across the globe are having for breakfast while completely ignoring the breakfast sitting right in front of us.
It points to a severe psychological disconnect.
Yeah.
When you are forced to just stand there and watch water boil without a screen, you are forced to actually inhabit your own life. The narrative describes this specific feeling as being incredibly vulnerable.
Vulnerable. Now, I'd actually push back on that slightly.
Oh, how so?
Well, is it really vulnerability, or are we just highly optimizing our time? I mean, I often pull my phone out while making coffee to clear out work emails so my day starts faster.
We tell ourselves it's optimization, certainly, but neurologically it functions as an emotional buffer.
An emotional buffer.
Yes. When you strip away the productivity argument, what you're left with is avoidance. The vulnerability the text describes is the feeling of being open, with feelings close to the surface.
Because there's no small screen to cover them up.
Precisely. You are exposed to your own unprocessed internal monologue. There is no glowing screen to suppress your ambient anxiety.
So if you're stressed about work, you just have to feel stressed.
If you are stressed about an upcoming meeting, you have to actually feel that stress. If you're exhausted, you have to sit with that physical fatigue. The mind suddenly has all this unmapped, empty space.
And that space is scary.
It feels intimidating, yes, but it's also the only place where genuine self-reflection occurs.
You can't outrun your own thoughts. And if facing yourself in the kitchen is uncomfortable, navigating the outside world is a whole different level of exposure.
It is a massive shift.
The narrative compares leaving the house without a phone to leaving the house without shoes.
Which perfectly encapsulates how integral the device is to our sense of safety in public spaces.
Like leaving without it feels like a fundamental violation of our modern survival kit.
That's a great way to put it.
Think about the phantom pocket check.
Ah,
You do the quick pat down before walking out the door. Phone, keys, wallet.
the Holy Trinity.
Right. And when the phone pocket is empty, there's a genuine spike of adrenaline. It's like, am I really going out into the world completely untethered?
Because once you step outside, you immediately encounter transitional spaces, environments specifically designed for waiting.
The bus stop, the coffee shop line.
And these are the exact environments where our phones serve as crucial social shields.
The elevator is the ultimate example here. The material calls it the elevator escape screen.
Such an incredibly accurate framing.
It really is. I'll admit it, I've absolutely pulled out my phone in an elevator and stared intensely at my own lock screen.
Pretending to read an urgent text.
Exactly. Just to avoid the awkwardness of acknowledging a neighbor, it's the perfect tool to look busy and important, effectively opting out of the physical space you're sharing.
We use the device to eradicate micro-boredom and sidestep social friction.
But that friction is kind of important, isn't it?
It is. That slight, unavoidable awkwardness of sharing a confined space with another human, that is the foundation of community.
And without the digital shield, the narrative notes that the individual was forced to just stand there, staring at the floor numbers, noticing the walls, looking at their own shoes.
But eventually they looked up.
They caught their neighbor's eye and smiled. And the neighbor smiled back.
It's a tiny interaction, but it's a real one. It pulls you out of your own head.
And the shift from isolation to observation continues when the speaker gets to the bus stop.
The physical environment suddenly becomes visible.
Instead of being buried in a curated feed, they actually look at the physical world. They watch a kid playing with a stone. They notice an older man reading a physical newspaper.
The realization here is profound. There is a deeply complex, vibrant reality unfolding outside the dimensions of that little rectangle.
You just had to look up to see it.
By putting the phone away, you transition from being a passive consumer of a curated, algorithmic world to being an active participant in your immediate physical environment.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because being an active participant isn't just about watching the world go by. It's about how we handle our own focus and responsibilities.
The shift from observation to action.
The narrative transitions into work and study time, and the insights here strike at the core of the modern productivity crisis.
It addresses the universal cognitive trap we all fall into when faced with difficult work.
The lie of just a second.
A very pervasive lie.
You hit a moment of friction, a complex spreadsheet, a difficult email draft, a dense paragraph you have to read, and your brain immediately looks for an escape hatch.
You tell yourself, I'll just check my notifications quickly.
It'll only take a second.
The narrative rightfully brands that specific second as a liar, because neurologically, there is no such thing as a 1-second check.
That 1 second is a gateway drug to 20 minutes of mindless scrolling, or 50 minutes. And before you know it, your entire morning is derailed.
Your focus is shattered.
But on this no-phone day, that liar second simply wasn't an option.
The craving to escape the difficult work was still there.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But without the easy out, the mind eventually had to settle down and push through the friction.
This touches on the psychological concept of attention residue.
What's that?
When you pivot from a complex task to check a text message, your brain doesn't instantly switch back when you put the phone down. A significant portion of your cognitive bandwidth remains stuck on the distraction.
So you're operating at a deficit even after the phone is away.
Precisely. The narrative uses the brilliant phrase, getting in your own way.
That hits close to home.
We have a tendency to externalize our lack of focus. We blame our demanding bosses, our noisy open-plan offices, our lack of time.
The stress of the modern world.
But the stark realization of the no-phone experiment is that our own deeply ingrained scrolling habits are often the primary roadblock.
It's a harsh truth to confront. You are the architect of your own distraction.
Yes.
But the underlying message here is actually incredibly empowering.
Because it's within your control.
Exactly. Because if you are the one getting in your own way, it means you have the complete agency to get out of it.
Yeah.
You aren't a helpless victim of your environment. You can systematically rebuild your attention span.
Recognizing that internal locus of control is vital. But we also have to recognize that the fallout of this digital fragmentation extends far beyond our individual spreadsheets and to-do lists.
It bleeds into our personal lives.
It deeply infiltrates our most intimate spaces. The narrative shifts to the evening routine at home, painting a picture of the modern living room that is uncomfortably familiar.
It's a scene we've all lived.
Sadly, yes.
Dad comes home, drops his bag, and collapses onto the sofa, immediately absorbed in his phone. Mom is at the dining table, swiping through a tablet. The kids are on the floor, zoned entirely into their own individual screens.
4 people in one room, 4 different worlds.
You have an entire family occupying the exact same physical space, but psychologically, they are orbiting completely different planets.
The material identifies this dynamic as a fundamental contradiction.
How so?
The device was masterfully engineered to connect us to people who are thousands of miles away, yet its sheer gravitational pull simultaneously takes us away from the people sitting right in front of us.
But wait, I want to challenge that.
Please do.
Because isn't there a flip side? When I'm on my phone in the living room, I might be texting my brother who lives across the country or keeping in touch with a friend overseas. Aren't we just trading local presence for a broader global connection?
We are, but we have to evaluate the quality of that trade-off. What you are describing leads to continuous partial attention.
Continuous partial attention.
Yes, you are theoretically connected to your brother, but you aren't fully present with him, nor are you fully present with the family in your living room. You exist in a liminal space where you are never fully anywhere. The contradiction is that we are constantly connected, yet profoundly lonely, because we lack uninterrupted spatial and emotional presence.
Together, but lonely. That hits incredibly hard.
It's the reality for many households.
And the alternative reality experience during this 24-hour experiment highlights exactly what we're missing.
The return to the physical room.
Right. Without a phone to retreat into, the individual came home, reached into their pocket out of habit, found it empty, and was forced to just look around.
To actually see their family.
They actually sat down and talked to a cousin who was drawing. They chatted with an aunt who was cooking. They engaged in the radical act of asking a real open-ended question.
Something as simple as, how was your day?
And then actually waiting for the answer.
When eyes meet eyes instead of screens, it completely rewires the emotional architecture of the evening. That shift from digital isolation to physical presence paves the way for much deeper, more vulnerable interactions.
Which perfectly sets up the emotional core of this entire deep dive, the evening conversations.
This is where the true weight of the experiment is felt.
The narrative describes a moment where a friend asks, "So, how is your day going without your phone?"
A simple question.
Now, the default reflex for most of us is to offer a superficial, frictionless answer, to play it safe,
Playing it safe is a defensive strategy.
just keeping it light.
Right. It's offering the standard, oh, it's fine, a bit weird, but fine. It requires zero emotional heavy lifting and carries zero risk of judgment.
But without the digital shield they usually relied on, the speaker couldn't maintain that superficiality. Instead, the text says they poured their heart out.
They shared their real feelings.
They admitted to their friend that the day was actually grueling. They felt restless, anxious, constantly reaching for a device that wasn't there.
The withdrawal symptoms.
But alongside that discomfort, they also admitted they felt far more grounded and present than they had in years.
By abandoning the safe, curated response, they open the door to genuine human connection.
And that authenticity cascaded later that night during a longer conversation with their family over tea.
Again, this was a space completely devoid of phones.
The individual confessed to feeling utterly exhausted by the relentless, invisible pressure to always be on.
The performative aspect of digital life.
Yes. The pressure to reply to group chats instantly, to curate a witty digital persona, to project an image of seamless productivity, to always be fast and fun.
It's exhausting.
And the reaction from their family was the ultimate payoff. Instead of judgment, they were met with overwhelming relief.
A shared confession.
The family members looked back and admitted, "We feel exactly the same way."
It was a profound shared realization that one messy, honest, face-to-face conversation holds infinitely more psychological weight than 100 perfectly crafted text messages.
So true.
If we look at the psychological mechanics at play here, the narrative correctly identifies the smartphone as a safety blanket.
A safety blanket we hold on to.
It has evolved from a tool into a primary coping mechanism. Whenever we experience a surge of ambient anxiety, a wave of social insecurity, or even just a fleeting moment of boredom,
We just wrap ourselves in this digital blanket to instantly numb the negative emotion.
precisely.
And when you finally rip that blanket away,
Yep.
you're gonna feel cold at first.
The vulnerability we discussed earlier.
But pushing through that initial discomfort leads to the ultimate epiphany of the entire experiment. The narrative calls it a wake-up moment.
Waking up from the beautiful nightmare.
They woke up to how incredibly loud and demanding the phone's presence is, even when it's just sitting silent in a pocket.
It demands your attention even when it's off.
They realized that for years, even when they were physically out at dinner with friends or sitting with family, a massive chunk of their cognitive load was always tethered elsewhere.
Their mind was permanently, as the text puts it, half inside the screen.
Half inside the screen. That is such a haunting image.
It's the realization that you have been unconsciously paying a massive cognitive tax just to maintain your digital existence at the direct expense of your physical reality.
But the purpose of deconstructing all of this isn't to induce a sense of modern guilt.
No, guilt isn't helpful here.
So what does this all mean? What is the big takeaway for you listening to us right now? The goal of this deep dive, absolutely, isn't to demonize the technology in your pocket.
As the source notes, phones help us a lot.
They are miraculous tools. They democratize information, they navigate us through unknown cities, and they keep us connected.
We aren't sitting here shouting rules or demanding you delete everything forever.
We aren't telling you to go off the grid and move to a cabin in the woods.
The true objective is reclaiming your agency. It's about awareness. It's about developing an acute awareness of your own behavioral loops.
Noticing your own habits.
Once you clearly see how and why you reach for the device, you can begin making intentional choices rather than purely reactive ones.
So maybe that looks like implementing a mini no-phone window, like a Sunday morning.
Well, maybe it's as simple as physically keeping the phone away at breakfast.
Or committing to making actual eye contact when you walk into your living room and ask your family how their day was.
We possess the power to write a new story with our phones. We can actively dictate our relationship with technology rather than passively allowing the technology to write our story for us.
You are the author of your own attention. You don't have to surrender it to an algorithm.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the source material provided a profoundly uncomfortable yet necessary framework for analyzing our digital dependencies.
He really did.
The realization that stripping away the device, that removing the safety blanket leaves you vulnerable to your own unprocessed fatigue and anxiety is critical.
It forces you to look in the mirror.
It does, and it raises an important question for you to explore on your own after this audio finishes.
A little homework.
Think about this. If you were to sit in total silence right now, without a screen to escape into, what is the very first uncomfortable thought or feeling your brain would try to swipe away from? What exactly are you escaping from every time you unlock that screen?
Wow. That is a question that requires some real honesty. And it's one that will definitely stick with you throughout the rest of your day.
I hope it does.
We want to say a huge thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Maybe challenge yourself today to just leave the phone in your pocket when you get into an elevator.
Or leave it on the counter while you wait for your coffee to brew.
See what happens when you actually look at the world right in front of you. Until next time, stay curious.